Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to the quarterly wrap up. I think maybe I should do this more often. Apparently my slump is ending. It's definitely not 100%. I still cannot just pick up a book and read at any time anymore, but I'm hoping that that will change soon. But I do have 24 books for this month. That is a big stack. The stack next to me is most of the books, not all of them. So I'm not sure how to do this. I am running a little low on my battery. So if I stop abruptly and then come back not having any idea where I was, you'll know why. But we'll do the best we can with what we have left. And if it dies, it dies. So let's go ahead and start with a little bit of statistics. Literally a little bit. So I have read 48 out of my 75 books for this year. I did 24 books this month. 16 of them were new reads. The rest were rereads. I don't really go over rereads in these videos because they're rereads. I will give you highlights. I finished the ACOTAR series again. I finished the series that shall not be named again. And I'm currently working on the Daughter of Smoke and Bone series. I need to stop playing with my phone because one of the videos that I posted recently, I can hear myself clicking it in the background, which is, you know, nice for me in the moment, the ADHD brain going, but it's, hey, it might be autism. We don't know what's wrong with me at this point in time, but it's like a STEMmy thing that I like doing, and it's playing with the pop socket on the back of my phone, and I realized when I was editing that it's a pain in the butt. Okay, so the first couple books I read, I don't have physically. One of them I do have, but it's in my daughter's room and she's asleep. I'm not going to disturb the beast for a book. So I'm going to put it here. I don't have, I'm going to try to get you guys star ratings. This is going to be kind of like just a go over. I need to do these more often though because the stack is too big, and so I don't want to have to do this huge stack again. So I guess I'm going to do them quarterly unless I hit, like, once I hit 10 books I'll come back and do it, and if I haven't hit 10 books by the end of the quarter I'll just do them all at the end of the quarter, something along those lines. We'll figure it out. So the first book I read was The Wicker King. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was really good. I liked it a lot. It did take me a while to get through, only because I would put it down and forget I was reading it, which isn't terrible, but isn't great. Wicker King is about mental illness. The darker the pages get, the darker the content is. It was definitely an interesting read, and I spent quite a bit of time trying to figure out if the characters were actually real and if the mental illness was actually a mental illness and what exactly was going on. So I was playing a lot of guessing games throughout the whole throughout the whole book. I did do a spoilery vlog for this one, so if you're curious what my thoughts were, it is full of spoilers, but it's an older book, so I thought it might be okay. The next book that I read is Bearing the Hourglass. This is a 2.5 to 3 star book. It's about this guy who is given time and he's in charge of, for all intents and purposes, he's in charge of the hourglass of time, and he can go forward in time, backward in time, he can go to different dimensions. It's an old book. It's from the 80s, and I was reading it for a video, so I don't want to give you guys too many things about it. The video's kind of stalled at the moment because I haven't been reading for it at all. But it was just a really weird book, and definitely not a favorite of mine. This guy has a ton of books. Piers Anthony's got a very long list. This book in particular is part of a smaller series of his. Smaller, it's like 6 books of companion novels. I only read book 2. There is definitely a lot of books in his other series. It's like 20 something books. He's still writing. But the way he talks, it's kind of icky. So definitely not something I would very much recommend. Okay, so now we can hit the pile. Let's see where we're at in the pile. I didn't put these in the chronological order. I put them in size order, so I probably messed that up. But the first book that I finished, that I actually have a physical copy with, sitting here with me, is The Spells for Forgetting. This is one of the Adrienne Young books that I read. I did finish all of her books this month. I only had 2 left, this one and Saint, and I'll get to Saint in a few minutes. Sorry, the pile fell over and the books were getting bent, so I had to fix it. This one was really good. I've heard some people say that they didn't like it. I personally loved it. I thought it was an amazing book. I gave it 5 full stars. I really like Adrienne Young. She is definitely a favorite author of mine, and this solidifies that I do like her much more as an adult author than a YA author. Not that I don't love her YA stuff, because I do. This was much better. This is about this small town that has an apple orchard. It's on an island here in the Pacific Northwest. I think the island is made up though, because I did kind of look into it a little bit and I can't figure it out if it's actually a real island. It doesn't sound like it. But this island is steeped with magic. I mean, obviously if it was the real island, it probably wouldn't be. But I can't find anything about the island. But it's steeped in magic, and there is this history of a fire and a death that happened on the same day, and there's a lot of questions about what happened. And so this is kind of part mystery, part magical realism. I liked it a lot. It was definitely a new favorite book for a confirmed favorite author. And this is the start of our 5-star streak that we had going here. This was the next one. I don't know if you can tell, because this was I think this was Owl Crates. I don't know, do they mark these things and tell you which book box you bought them from? This one is signed, and it is a special edition. Yeah, Owl Crate. So this is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I always forget, I want to say Secret Life for some reason. This book did get thrown up on by my cat, and I can't get all the throw up off. And it's one of my favorite books ever. It's lovely. I need to hide books from my cats from now on. It was sitting in a stack and she threw up on top of the stack. I got this book. Okay. If you don't know what Addie LaRue is about, it's about this girl who makes a bargain with the devil or a demon of some sort to live forever, and he does, but he makes a catch that nobody that sees her will ever remember her. So the people that were in her life when she made the bargain forget her, and anybody new that she meets will forget her until someone doesn't. It was beautiful. I loved it a lot. I think there's a very good possibility I cried during this one. I'm not sure. I can't remember. It was part of the mid-year freakout tag that was to ask books that made you cry, and I think this may have been one of them, but I'm not positive. But it was very emotional, and this one is really pretty too. I do want to get a normal copy though, just so I have a normal copy of it that I can like lend out to my daughter or my husband or my best friend, anybody who wants to read it that doesn't want to read it with cat throw up on it. Okay, my next 5-star is The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. Again, beautiful copy. This one was amazing. It's about a sea god who needs a bride sacrifice every year to keep him calm. And it's about how this girl, her brother, is in love with one of the town girls. The town girl is slotted to be the next bride. And in order to save her brother, she throws him out of the way and goes in herself. It's the adventure that she goes on while she's down there with the king, and I don't know how else to describe it without giving any of it away. It's a beautiful book. I mean, physically, it's a gorgeous book, but it's a beautiful book, and I really, really enjoyed it. I did do the audiobook for this one. I thought it was really good. There is some books that the audiobook is just not worth it, and I have one of those coming up, but for this one, it was completely worth it. Plus, I get to just look at this thing and know that I love this book. And will I ever read this copy of it? I don't know, because it's so beautiful. I don't want to screw it up, but oh my gosh. Beautiful book all the way around. Really, really enjoyed it. Guess what? It died. But luckily I got it plugged in right away, so hopefully we can finish this before tomorrow. I wanted to at least get on here and be able to finish this portion today. Anything above and beyond this, we will see. Okay, so I was just about to tell you about So This Is Ever After. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. So This Is Ever After is a book that I read with my best friend, Ash. We were going to do a buddy read for it. We've done a buddy read for a couple of other books in the past, and this was going to be our current one. But Ash DNF'd it, and I barely finished it. The only reason I finished it was because I thought that it was cute. It's a solid 2.5 stars. And the reason that it's 2.5 stars and not more is because it's a miscommunication trope, and literally you know what the miscommunication is from the first couple chapters, and all I wanted to do was just yell at them to talk to each other. And if a book is completely obsolete from one conversation, then I don't want to hear about it. If they had more in it that would make it more interesting, that would have been great. But it was cute and it had great representation. There was representation from all over the LGBTQIA plus community. There was gay, bi, straight, different gender identities. We had a they, them. We have one character that I'm pretty sure was trans, but they don't say it explicitly. It's just there's a great representation for everybody in the LGBTQIA plus community, which I really, really appreciated. And because of that and the cute factor, it's 100% a cozy fantasy. I am going to give it the 2.5. But the story itself was kind of slow. There wasn't, it was all one big miscommunication. So besides the miscommunication, I think I could have liked it if they could have had other plot points to go with it than just that one. I could have definitely seen myself liking it a lot. Okay, so the next book that I read that was not a reread is Saint. Saint is the last book in the Fable. This is the Fable books, right? My brain isn't working today. Yes, this is the Fable series. So this is the prequel to the Fable series. This is all about Fable's dad, Saint, and Fable's mom, Isolde. So it was really, really cute. And if you have read the Fable books, you know how it ends. But I'm definitely glad I read it. I gave this one 4 stars. It definitely wasn't the best in the series, and I think I'm done with the Fable series. I'm hoping that she doesn't put any more in that one and she starts something new. But I definitely did like this, and I'm glad that I read it and finished all the Adrienne Young books that I had left to read. So I have read 100% of her books now. And going back to our 5-star books, I read Wayward. Wayward is a book that is based in 3 timelines. You have one that's like in the 1400s. You have one that was like World War II-esque, and then one that's current. And it's about magic and about women's lives and what they've gone through, knowing that they have this witchy side to them. It was really good. It was really cute. There are definitely some trigger warnings in here for domestic violence. There is also trigger warnings for pregnancy and pregnancy loss. But I think it was a really good book, and I think that if you can handle the triggers on this one, it's a really great book to read, especially if you like historical fiction and magical realism. Then this was a really great book to read because it's got a little bit of both in there. It is definitely got some current stuff, but it definitely has an entire timeline that is very historical. Overall, it was a really good book, and I really much enjoyed it. I was definitely on kind of a Victorian kick through most of this month. I read several books that were Victorian. The next book that I read was The House Across the Lake. Here is a book that is a good book. It's a good Riley Sager. I love Riley Sager's books. He tends to get 4 stars from me, and this book is just the same. I don't know if I've ever rated one of his books 5 stars. I think that he is a very solid writer, and I think I'm caught up. Is the haunted house one, the one with the dolls, is that Riley Sager or is that Grady Hendrix? Because I have not read that one yet. But Riley Sager and Grady Hendrix, they're similar enough where I get them mixed up. This was 100% a book that you need to read with your eyeballs and not with your ears. The narrator is terrible. She sounds like a 50-year-old woman, not a 30-year-old woman. And she sounds like she's been smoking 4 packs a day. And the protagonist in the book is not a smoker, she's a drinker. So, I mean, I don't think that you would sound like that. Was she bad? No. Did she fit the character? Very much no. Probably one of the worst narrations that I've ever heard. I'm sure there is worse ones out there. I'm positive there probably is. It's just that she's supposed to be like 35 years old. And this woman sounds like a 60-year-old who's been smoking 4 packs a day since she was 9. It's real raspy, real, ugh. No. But good book. Bad narration. Don't listen to it. Really, I wouldn't. I've also started rereading the Tea Dragon books. I read the first one, which is up there. Then this month I read the second one, which was the first time I read this one. I still need to read the third one. I do have it, but I have not read it yet. I love these books. They are beautiful. The art in them is amazing. They have these big, colorful pages. They have a beautiful story. Again, there is a lot of representation in here. There's disability rep. There is POV. There's people of color. There is some the different tribes kind of correlate to. It feels like they're Native American. There is some gay rep in here. There's all sorts of, it's just a beautiful series. So all over the place. And so I'm looking forward to reading the third one. So the next book I read is The Golden Enclave. This is the finale to the Scholomance books by Naomi Novak. This one was also very good. It's definitely not my favorite, where I gave the first and second one 5 stars. This one got 4. I think it was a really wonderful conclusion to the series. It really rounds it out really well. If you don't know what they're about, it's about all these witches and wizards who get sucked into a magical school, but the magical school also attracts lots of baddies. When you do something bad, you make a baddie. Moormouths are the biggest and worst, and they actually go into Moormouths a lot in here, so you find out quite a bit about them. But they have all these other little things. I can't remember the word for the things, the other little ones, but they are attracted to the magic and they eat the students. And so you have a couple of, you follow this one class of students as they're trying to survive and get out of the school. This is the conclusion to that series. I think it was a really great conclusion. I liked it a lot. Not as good as the previous books, but definitely still a good book, and one that I would suggest to people who like magic school, who like the idea of when you do something wrong, you create a being, and that being will try to eat you. Yay. Okay, yeah. The next book that I read is Dowry of Blood. I'm trying to figure out what I gave Dowry of Blood. That's what I'm looking at my phone for. I gave it 4 stars. I did like it a lot. It definitely wasn't great. Again, it had lots of representation, which was something that I was really looking for in the month of June specifically, was to get as much LGBT representation as I could in there. This one definitely has bi rep. It is about the wife of like a Dracula type of being, and it's about their existence, their time together, and Dracula also collects other significant others, and it's about the time that they have together. It's interesting. It's gross. There's a lot of gore in it. I liked it a lot. The only thing I didn't like about it doesn't have anything to do with the book itself. It's about the book itself. I have a broken binding in my book, and I don't know what to do with it. I probably should have taken it back, but I didn't. So now I have a book with a broken binding. I'm tempted to try to take it back anyways, but it's kind of late for that now. I bought it from Barnes & Noble quite a long time ago. The next book I read is my current favorite book of the year. And I know I'm not alone in this. I know this book has gotten a lot of hype. And to me, it's 100% worth it. I know a lot of people agree, and I know there's some people that disagree as well. But I think it was probably one of the best books that I've read in a long time. This definitely fits right up there with the ACOTAR series for me. It gave me the same sort of book hangover. So I read a lot less since finishing this than I did in the previous books, because it gave me a hangover. It gave me a massive book hangover, and I already pre-ordered the second one. I pre-ordered 2 copies of the second one. I got one from Waterstones because it's got a pretty stenciled edge, and then I got one from Amazon, and I hate buying from Amazon, but it was only $17 and everywhere else is selling it for $27. So I couldn't pass it up. I'm going to try to get the Fairy Loot special edition of this one because it goes really nicely with the Waterstones edition of the next one. But it sold out before I got to it, and now they're going to restock it. And since I am a subscriber to Fairy Loot, I will get that early access. So hopefully I'll be able to snag a copy of that. If you haven't read this yet, it's another school book. It's about Violet, and she is a scribe. Her dad has been training her as a scribe her entire life. Her dad dies, and her mom decides that she needs to be a dragon rider instead of a scribe, and forces her into the school. There is some spicy scenes in this, only a couple, so it's not a lot of spice, but it's some spice. I had my husband read it, and all I get is he was on the ship, he was on deployment, and all I get is messages from him, "Oh my gosh, is this what a spicy scene is?" And I'm like, yes, yeah, this is a spicy scene. So he got to read his very first spicy scenes in this book. But he liked it a lot, and I adore it. I even have the one with the pretty stenciled edges. It was amazing. I love it. I can't wait for the next one to come out, and I'm really excited. There's gonna be like a 6-book series, and I'm really hoping that she keeps pumping them out every 6 months. So that way I don't have to wait a year between these books. Unlike Miss Mass, who is only pumping out books every other year because she has kids, which I understand, but she needs to write faster. I haven't started the second half of the ACOTAR series yet because there's only one book out and the next one doesn't come out for like a year, and I'm not about to wait for like 6 years for the third book to come out. But these ones I'm gonna have to, so hopefully she keeps pumping them out at a decent rate because I like them a lot and I want to keep reading them. All right, the next book that I read was The Foxglove King. It is another fantasy romance. It is another adult fantasy romance. Fourth Wing has a 20-year-old main character. This one's got a 24-year-old main character. Still not old by any stretch of the word, but older than 18, which I appreciate. There is really no spice in this one. The romance is alluded to, but not really shown. I have a feeling that as the series progresses, you're going to get more romance aspects of it, but it's more of a fantasy than it is a romance, even though it's marketed as a fantasy romance. This is about Lore, and Lore can see death on, sense, feel, whatever, death on everything. She was, lives in a world where people take poison in order to make their lives last longer. And so every time someone takes poison, she can see the death coming off of them. She also can manipulate some of the death. She doesn't really know how to too much. She wasn't schooled. It was just kind of one of those things that happened. She has done it twice at the beginning of the book, once before the book starts and once in the first few chapters. And when they see her manipulate death, she gets kidnapped and she gets conscripted into helping the king, or she's told she gets to die, one of the two. So she goes and helps the king. Foxglove is one of the main poisons that they use, but there is other ones. I think belladonna was mentioned a couple times in here. It's interesting. It was definitely a good book. I definitely didn't rate it nearly as high as I rated The Fourth Wing, and I don't know if that's because this book doesn't deserve a higher rating or because compared to The Fourth Wing, which I had read right beforehand, it just wasn't as good. So I don't know which way to go with that, but either way, still a good book. Looking forward to the next one. It is a series. I don't know how long the series is going to be at this point in time, but I did like it a lot. The next book that I read is Anatomy, a Love Story. I actually read both. I'll put the other one right here. This one is Immortality. This one is Anatomy. The gist of it is that this is about a girl whose name I have forgotten because I'm terrible with these. Hazel. This is about a girl named Hazel who is raised in the early 1800s. And she's very interested in medicine. So she steals her dad's textbooks to learn more about medicine, and then she steals her older brother's clothes to go to school. Her and her older brother both got this really bad flu that they called the Roman flu, and her brother passed from it, but she managed to live through it. And so she has a certain immunity from contracting this illness once before, and because of that she wants to help people who have the Roman flu. So she dresses up like her brother and she enrolls in anatomy classes as a boy, and I just think it's interesting. It's a lot of fun to read. It's kind of gross. It definitely has morbid scenes. I kind of like that type of thing. Again, it's another Victorian book, so I read quite a few Victorian books. I did want to read the London Seance Society, but I didn't get that far because, again, it was another Victorian book, and I needed a break from the Victorian books. But I think it's really good. I liked it a lot, and I've had problems with books in the past where they're like not like other girls, like so it had the same feeling as Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco, where it was a girl who wanted to be a doctor who was doing autopsies, just like this one. But in this one, she doesn't make a point to say 5 billion times that she's not ladylike enough or that she's not like other girls. She doesn't do any of that stuff. She just knows that it's not proper for her to be doing this and does it anyways. And she doesn't whine about it. She doesn't complain about it. She just knows that this is what she has to do in order to get the life that she wants. She wants to be a doctor. She wants to be a surgeon, and she knows that these are the steps that she has to take in order to get what she wants. So she just does it. Instead of whining about it the entire time, she does it. So if you liked the idea of the Dracula book but didn't like the whininess of the main character, try this. It was better. I liked it a lot more. The Dracula books I barely got through. I only read the first two, couldn't do any more. This one I liked a lot. And it does have a second book, which was also good. So that was the rest of the books that I read this month that were new reads to me. I did have, like I said, have several rereads mixed in the group, but I don't like going over those ones too much because I've read them before. I have read one book so far in July, and I'm currently working on In the Lives of Puppets. So those ones will go towards our next video, our next wrap up. Obviously, my camera didn't make it the whole time, so I had to charge it, but we're good now. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about the books that I've been reading, I have a Goodreads. You're more than welcome to follow me on there. Goodreads gets all of the books, new and reread. Storygraph only gets the new books that I read. That way, just so I can keep it kind of separate, so I can see what I'm reading new versus what I'm reading as rereads. Because sometimes when I'm in slumps, all I do is reread. And I'm hoping to be able to continue to break out of that slump that I've been dealing with for the last couple of years. And this last quarter was a wonderful example that I think I really am starting to come out of it, which makes me so happy. So yeah, that's it for now. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, yeah, let me know what you want me to read. I've got thousands of books I want to read, and even more on my phone, my Kindle, and the library. So I will see you guys again soon. Bye.